The man who pulled her from the flames never imagined she lit the match. Carter Hayes, a single father, working double shifts to keep the lights on, became a hero the night he carried CEO Alexandra Pierce from that burning penthouse. The cameras loved it. The city called him a saint. But when she whispered those 4 words in that hospital room, everything he thought he knew about heroes and villains went up in smoke. Because the woman he saved was the one who started the fire. Now, before we dive into this incredible story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single part of this journey. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from, because I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end. I started the fire. Carter heard the words, but his brain refused to process them. He stood in that hospital room, fluorescent lights buzzing, the smell of antiseptic mixing with the smoke still clinging to his clothes. 6 hours ago, he'd carried this woman down 17 flights of stairs. Alexandra Pierce, billionaire CEO, the face on every billboard in the city. And she just confessed to arson. Say that again. Alexandra's eyes stayed closed. Oxygen tube in her nose. Burns wrapped on her left arm. When she finally looked at him, there was nothing in those eyes, just emptiness. You heard me. Carter's phone buzzed in his pocket. His sister Jenny texting again. Probably about Audrey. His 7-year-old daughter, who right now thought her dad was some kind of superhero because that's what Channel 7 kept saying. Hero dad. Working class champion. The little guy saves the billionaire. Why are you telling me this? Because you saved my life. Her voice cracked. And I need someone to know before I lose my nerve. Then tell the cops. Carter pointed at the door where a uniformed officer stood scrolling through his phone. Tell the detective who thinks this was an electrical fire. I will, but I needed to practice first on someone who might... She stopped. Might what? Understand. Carter laughed, but it came out wrong. Bitter. Lady, I don't understand anything right now except I risked my life for someone who committed a felony. I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt. People were in that building. I evacuated the floor. I waited until after 7. I checked every office twice. Tears started. I thought I was alone. He remembered finding her collapsed near the stairwell, smoke pouring through the vents. She'd been trying to get out, or trying to stop it. Hard to tell. Why'd you do it? Alexandra turned her head away. Because I'm a coward. Because I made a mistake that was going to destroy everything, and I thought if the evidence burned, maybe no one would have to know. What kind of mistake? The kind that ruins lives. Carter's phone buzzed again. Jenny. Audrey keeps watching you on the news. She drew you a picture. Come home. He looked at Alexandra Pierce and saw something familiar in her face. Shame. The kind that sits in your chest and makes breathing hurt. The kind he'd been carrying for 5 years since the warehouse. Since Marcus. I have to go. Are you going to tell them? He should. He should walk out that door and tell the cop everything. But his feet wouldn't move. I don't know. He left before she could say anything else. The drive home, his hands shook on the wheel. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flames, heard the roar, felt that heat that reminded him of the warehouse 5 years ago when he'd frozen in the doorway while Marcus Boone burned alive inside. He pulled into his driveway at 2 a.m. Jenny met him at the door with a hug that lasted too long. You okay? No. Audrey watched you on TV 10 times. She's so proud. The sick feeling in his stomach got worse. Jenny squeezed his arm. Get some sleep. You're a hero, Carter. Try to feel good about that. But heroes don't save arsonists. And they definitely don't keep secrets for them. He checked on Audrey, curled up with her stuffed dog, breathing soft and steady. On her wall, she'd taped a drawing. Stick figure dad. Figure dad carrying stick figure woman. Hearts everywhere. My hero daddy, in crooked letters. Carter sat on the edge of her bed and put his face in his hands. Morning came too fast. The news went crazy. Pierce Development announced Alexandra was recovering from smoke inhalation after a devastating electrical fire. The city rallied. Donations poured in for the rebuilding. Carter's phone wouldn't stop ringing, so he turned it off. He went to work like nothing happened. His boss, Raymond, caught him at the door. You're not supposed to be here. I have inspections. You're on administrative leave, protocol after any rescue. Raymond smiled. Besides, you're famous. Every news station wants you. I don't want them. Carter. Raymond's hand landed on his shoulder. Heavy. What you did was incredible. Marcus would have been proud. That name hit him like a fist. Marcus. The friend who died because Carter hesitated. The reason he'd spent 5 years inspecting buildings instead of fighting fires. The reason he swore he'd never run toward flames again. Until last night when instinct took over. I need to work. Go home, spend time with Audrey, process this. Raymond squeezed harder. That's an order. Carter drove home but didn't go inside. Instead, he sat in his truck and stared at his phone. Then he did something he couldn't explain even to himself. He called the hospital. I need to speak with Alexandra Pierce. I'm sorry Miss Pierce was discharged this morning. Where'd she go? I can't release that information. He hung up, looked up Pierce Development's number, called. The receptionist sounded young, nervous. Pierce Development. I need to speak with Alexandra Pierce. Ms. Pierce is unavailable. May I take a message? Tell her Carter Hayes called. Silence, then clicking. Hold music. A man's voice came on. Older, careful. Mr. Hayes, this is David Chen. I'm Ms. Pierce's attorney. How can I help you? I need to talk to her. Ms. Pierce is resting. Perhaps I can assist you. Carter almost hung up, almost walked away from this whole mess, but then he remembered her eyes in that hospital room. She told me something last night. I need to know if she meant it. Pause. Mr. Hayes, I'm going to give you an address. Can you meet me in 1 hour? Why? Because Alexandra wants to explain, and I think you want to listen. The address took him 40 minutes outside the city. Private estate, all glass and angles. David Chen waited outside. 50s gray hairsuit that probably cost more than Carter's truck. Thank you for coming. Where is she? Inside, but first I need to know what she told you. Carter met his eyes. That she started the fire. David nodded slow like he'd been expecting it. She told me she would. I advised against it. You knew? Not until yesterday. David gestured toward the house. Come inside. But whatever Alexandra tells you stays between us for now. Can you do that? Why should I? Because if you can't, she goes to prison, and the person who actually deserves to pays nothing. Carter followed him inside. The house was cold, too clean. Alexandra sat by a window overlooking a garden. Sweater and jeans, arms still bandaged. She looked smaller than on TV Human. You came. Your lawyer said something about someone else being responsible. Carter stayed standing. What's that mean? She glanced at David. He nodded. It means I made a terrible decision, but I'm not the only criminal here. She took a breath. My COO, Serena Vale. She's been stealing from the company. 2 years, millions. So you burned down the building. I found proof 3 weeks ago. Financial records, emails, everything. I was going to turn it over to the police. Her hands twisted together. But Serena found out I knew. She came to my office. Told me if I exposed her, she'd destroy me first. Make it look like I was the one stealing. So you destroyed the evidence. I panicked. I thought if the records burned, I'd have time to figure out another way. But I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. David stepped forward. What Alexandra didn't know is that Serena sabotaged the building first. The ventilation system was tampered with. Someone disabled the fire suppression on the 17th floor. Carter felt cold. You're saying Serena wanted the fire to spread? We believe so, but we need proof. David pulled out a folder. That's where you come in. I'm not an investigator. No, but you're a building safety technician. You know systems. You can spot tampering other people miss. He handed over the folder. Pierce Development is conducting an internal review of the fire. They need an independent consultant. I've arranged for you to be hired. Carter opened the folder. Contract, building schematics, access credentials. Serena will know who I am. Exactly. You're the hero who saved Alexandra. Hiring you looks good. She can't refuse without raising questions. This is insane. I know, Alexandra stood up. But I'm going to confess, I'm going to face what I did, but please help me prove Serena is worse. Help me make sure she doesn't walk away from this. Carter looked at her. Really looked. Saw someone drowning in guilt just like him. If I do this, you tell the truth. All of it. The moment we have proof. I will. And you don't lie to me again. I won't. He looked at David. When do I start? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. That night, Carter told Jenny he'd taken a consulting job. Didn't mention why. Didn't mention Alexandra's confession, or Serena's sabotage, or the fact that he was walking into something that could explode. He read Audrey her favorite story. When she asked if he was scared saving the lady, he said yes. When she asked if he'd do it again, he said he didn't know. But you're brave, Daddy. Brave people get scared too, kiddo. They just do the right thing anyway. What's the right thing? He kissed her forehead. Still figuring that out. Next morning, he walked into Pierce Development headquarters. Glass tower. 40 stories. The kind of building Marcus would have called a rich man's monument. A woman met him in the lobby. 40 sharp suit, perfect smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Hayes. Serena Vale. It's an honor. She extended her hand. What you did for Alexandra was extraordinary. Carter shook it. Her grip was firm, cold. Just doing what needed doing. Most people run from danger. You ran toward it. She gestured to the elevators. Let me show you where you'll be working. They rode up in silence. Carter studied her reflection in the polished doors. Nothing about her screamed criminal. She looked like every other executive. Polished. In control. How's Ms. Pierce doing? Recovering. This has been traumatic for her. We're giving her space. Serena's smile tightened. Between us, I think she's struggling with survivor's guilt, wondering why she made it out. Building still standing. Barely. 3 floors destroyed. Months of repairs, maybe years. The elevator dinged. Here we are. The 17th floor looked like a bomb hit it. Burned walls, melted fixtures. That smoke smell that never really leaves. Carter's chest tightened. Warehouse? Marcus. Flames everywhere. You okay? Fine. He pulled out his inspection tools. Where's the ventilation access? Down that hall, but the fire investigator already cleared the system. Electrical failure, old wiring. I'd like to check myself. Something flickered in Serena's eyes, just for a second. Of course, take your time. I'll be in my office if you need anything. She left. Carter waited until her footsteps faded, then he moved fast down the hall. The ventilation access was behind a maintenance door. He opened it and shined his flashlight inside. The system was new, modern, not the kind that fails from old wiring. He took photos, lots of them. Then he saw it. Scorch marks near the main junction box. But they were wrong. Too clean. Too precise. Someone had burned specific wires, made it look like an electrical fire. His phone buzzed. Text from David. Anything? Found something, need more time. He spent 2 hours documenting everything. By the time he finished, he had proof the fire wasn't accidental, but proving who did it. That was different. He was packing up when footsteps echoed behind him. He turned. Serena stood in the doorway. Find anything interesting? Carter's heart kicked. Just damage. Lots of it. I'm sure. She moved closer, studying him. You know, Mr. Hayes, I looked you up after the fire. Impressive career. Fire department, then safety inspections? That's quite a change. People change. They do. Usually because something makes them. Her smile was sharp now. There was an incident 5 years ago. A warehouse fire. Your friend died. Carter's jaw clenched. That's not relevant. Isn't it? You were first on scene. You hesitated. He burned. She tilted her head. Must be hard living with that. Knowing you could have saved him if you'd been faster. What's your point? No point, just making conversation. She turned to leave, stopped. Oh, and Mr. Hayes, be careful poking around up here. Old buildings can be dangerous. Wouldn't want you to get hurt. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. She left. Carter stood there, pulse hammering. She knew he was looking, and she just told him to back off. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Mr. Hayes. A woman's voice, young, terrified. My name is Emily Ross. I work in accounting at Pierce Development. I need to talk to you about what really happened that night. Carter's grip tightened on the phone. Where are you? Coffee shop 2 blocks south. Please come now. I can't talk long. She's watching. Who's watching? Serena. She knows I found something. She knows I was going to tell Miss Pierce. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. Please, Mr. Hayes, I have proof, real proof, but I'm scared. I'm on my way. Hurry, I don't know how much time I have before she... The line went dead. Carter grabbed his bag and ran for the elevator. His mind raced. Emily Ross, accounting. She found something. She has proof. The elevator took forever. When the doors opened on the lobby, he saw her. Serena, standing by the front desk, talking on her phone, watching him. Their eyes met. She smiled. Carter walked out of the building trying to look calm. Not running, not panicking. Just walking? But every instinct screamed at him to move faster. The coffee shop was 2 blocks away. He half walked, half jogged, pushed through the door, empty tables, a barista wiping down the counter, no one else. Excuse me, did you see a young woman in here, 25, blonde, nervous looking? The barista nodded. Yeah, she was here like 10 minutes ago. Ordered tea, kept checking her phone. Then some guy came in and she left with him. Carter's blood went cold. What guy? I don't know. Suit. Looked professional. She seemed to know him. Did she look scared? Maybe I don't know, man. I just make coffee. Carter pulled out his phone, called the number Emily had used. It rang and rang and rang. Voicemail. Emily, this is Carter Hayes. If you get this, call me back. I'm at the coffee shop. I'm here. Just call me. He hung up, stood there, mind spinning. She was here. She left with someone. Someone in a suit. Someone who worked for Serena. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Stop looking, Mr. Hayes, or the girl pays for your curiosity. Carter stared at the message, read it again. His hands started shaking. Another text came through, a photo. Emily Ross sitting in a chair, duct tape over her mouth, eyes wide with terror. Then one more message. Walk away or she disappears. Carter stood in that empty coffee shop phone trembling in his hand and realized he'd just walked into something way bigger and way more dangerous than he ever imagined. Because Serena Vale wasn't just a thief. She was willing to hurt people to keep her secrets. And Emily Ross just became her next victim. Carter stared at that photo for 5 seconds that felt like 5 hours. Emily's terrified eyes, the duct tape, the message burning into his brain, walk away or she disappears. His finger hovered over the call button. Police. He should call the police right now. But then what explained that a CEO is being framed? That he's investigating arson for the arsonist? That he has no actual proof except photos of burned wires and a kidnapped accountant who called him once they'd laugh him out of the station? His phone rang. David Chen. I just got a call from building security, David said without greeting. They said you left in a hurry. What happened? Emily Ross, accounting. She called me, said she had proof about Serena. Carter's voice came out tight. She's gone. Gone how? Taken. Serena has her. She sent me a photo. Silence on the other end. Then David's voice dropped low. Where are you right now? Coffee shop on 5th. Stay there, don't move. I'm sending someone to get you. We need to call the police. And tell them that we think Serena Vale kidnapped an employee based on an anonymous text message. We have no evidence, no witnesses, nothing. David exhaled hard. We call the police now, Serena will bury Emily and disappear the evidence. We need to be smart about this. Smart? There's a girl out there who's terrified because she tried to help us. I know, and we're going to get her back, but not by running in blind. A pause. Alexandra wants to talk to you. The car will be there in 10 minutes. The line went dead. Carter stood there holding his phone. Emily's face burned into his memory. 25 years old. Probably had family, friends. A whole life that just got destroyed because she tried to do the right thing. Just like Marcus. Marcus had tried to do the right thing too. Went into that warehouse to save equipment records when everyone else evacuated. Carter had been right behind him, Right there. But when the explosion hit and flames blocked the door, Carter had frozen. Just stood there while Marcus screamed for help. 10 seconds. That's all it took for Marcus to die. 10 seconds of Carter being too scared to move. He wasn't going to let that happen again. A black car pulled up. The back door opened. Carter got in. Alexandra sat in the far seat, dressed in dark clothes, no makeup. She looked exhausted. David told me what happened. We have to find her. We will. Alexandra leaned forward. But first we need to understand what Emily found. What was so dangerous Serena would risk kidnapping to keep it quiet? She said she had proof, financial proof. Then we need to access her files, see what she saw. Alexandra pulled out a laptop. I still have admin access to the company servers. I can get into accounting records. Won't Serena see you logged in? Probably, but right now I don't care what Serena knows. I care about Emily Ross. The car drove while Alexandra typed. Carter watched the city pass by. Normal people doing normal things? No idea a woman was being held somewhere because she found evidence of embezzlement. Here, Alexandra turned the laptop. Emily's recent file activity. She was looking at quarterly reports, budget allocations, and this. She clicked on a folder. Offshore account transfers. Millions moving to shell companies. Carter studied the screen, numbers that meant nothing to him. Can you trace where the money went? Some of it. The trails are complex, deliberately confusing, but look at this. She pointed to a column. These transfers all happened on dates when I was out of the office. Business trips, conference calls. Times when I couldn't verify what was happening. Serena planned it. For 2 years, systematically stealing while making sure I was distracted or unavailable. Alexandra's jaw tightened. And when I finally noticed discrepancies when I started asking questions, she threatened me, told me she had evidence that would make it look like I was the one stealing. Did she? I don't know, maybe. Serena is smart, calculating. She wouldn't make threats unless she could back them up. Alexandra closed the laptop. That's why I panicked, why I did something so stupid. The car pulled up to the same estate from earlier. David waited at the door. Inside he had papers spread across a table. Financial records, building schematics, photos Carter had taken of the ventilation system. I've been going through everything we have, David said. The problem is none of it directly ties Serena to the sabotage. We have proof the system was tampered with. We have evidence of embezzlement, but we can't prove Serena did either. The access card, Carter said. You told me her card was used to enter the maintenance room. It was, but she can claim her card was stolen or cloned. Without video footage or a witness, it's circumstantial. David rubbed his face. We need Emily. She's the only one who can testify about what Serena told her, what Serena threatened. Then we find her. How? Alexandra stood up. We don't know where Serena would take someone. We don't know who's helping her. We don't even know if Emily's still in the city. Carter thought about the photo. The chair Emily was sitting in. Plain walls. No windows visible. Could be anywhere. Serena sent that message to scare me off, Carter said. Which means she thinks I'm a threat. She thinks I'm going to find something. You already found evidence of tampering. But not enough. Not the smoking gun. Carter looked at the building schematics. What if there's more? What if Serena left other traces we haven't found yet? David frowned. The fire investigator went through everything. The fire investigator was looking for an accident. I'm looking for a crime. Carter traced the ventilation layout with his finger. These systems are complex. Lots of access points. Lots of places to hide evidence if you know what you're doing. You want to go back to the building. I want to finish what I started. If Serena's scared enough to kidnap Emily, she's scared enough to make mistakes. Maybe she missed something. Alexandra moved closer. If you go back, she'll know. She'll be watching. Good. Let her watch. Let her think I'm just doing my job. Carter met her eyes. Meanwhile, we figure out where she's keeping Emily. How? Serena needs help. She can't guard Emily 24/7 and run a company. She has to trust someone. Carter turned to David. Who's close to Serena? Who would she trust with something like this? David pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts. Her assistant, maybe? Marcus Webb. He's been with her for 5 years, very loyal. Anyone else? Building security chief. James Preston. Serena brought him in 2 years ago, right around when the embezzlement started. Carter felt something click. Security chief would have access to everything. Keys, codes, cameras. And he could erase footage, Alexandra added. Make sure there's no record of Serena entering the maintenance room. David was already typing on his laptop. James Preston, former police officer. Left the force under unclear circumstances. No criminal record, but several internal investigations. For what? Use of force, evidence tampering. David looked up. He was dirty. They couldn't prove it, so they pushed him out quietly. Perfect person for Serena to hire, Carter said. Someone who knows how to hide evidence and isn't afraid to break rules. Alexandra's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went pale. What is it? She held up the screen. Text message from an unknown number. Stop digging or Emily Ross becomes a memory. You have 12 hours. Carter checked his watch. 3 p.m. That gave them until 3 a.m. tomorrow. She's escalating, David said quietly. Because we're getting close. Carter stood up. I'm going back to that building. I'm going to find whatever Serena doesn't want me to find. And then we're going to trade it for Emily. That's not a plan, Alexandra said. That's suicide. You have a better idea. She didn't answer. Carter grabbed his jacket. David, I need everything you can find on James Preston. Where he lives, where he worked before Pierce Development, associates, everything. What are you going to do? Find Emily before that 12 hours runs out. Alexandra followed him to the door. Carter, wait. This is my fault, my company, my mistake. You don't have to risk yourself for this. Emily called me because she thought I could help. She's in danger because of that, so yeah, I do have to. He stopped. Besides, someone once told me brave people do the right thing even when they're scared. That was about your daughter. Applies to everyone. He walked out before she could argue. The drive back to Pierce Tower took 20 minutes. Carter spent the whole time thinking about Marcus, about that warehouse, about the 10 seconds that changed everything. He'd replayed that moment 1,000 times. Marcus screaming, flames everywhere, the door blocked by burning debris. Carter standing there, frozen while his best friend died. Everyone said it wasn't his fault. The explosion was unexpected. The fire spread too fast. No one could have predicted it. But Carter knew the truth. He'd hesitated. And hesitation kills. He wasn't going to hesitate this time. Pierce Tower looked the same as this morning. Glass and steel. People coming and going like nothing was wrong. Carter walked through the lobby and headed for the elevators. Mr. Hayes. He turned. Serena Vale stood near the security desk talking to a man in a security uniform. James Preston. Ms. Vale. She walked over, that perfect smile in place. Back so soon? I thought you'd need more time to review the damage. Just being thorough. Of course, we appreciate your diligence. She glanced at Preston. James, this is Carter Hayes, the man who saved Alexandra. Preston stepped forward. Big guy, 6'2", muscular, with eyes that sized Carter up like a threat assessment. Mr. Hayes? Heard a lot about you. They shook hands. Preston's grip was too tight, deliberate. James runs our security, Serena said. Anything you need, he can provide access. I'm good. Still. Serena's smile didn't waver. Building policy. Security escort for all contractors working in damaged areas. Liability concerns. Carter understood. They weren't letting him go up there alone. Fine. Preston led him to the elevator. They rode up in silence. Carter felt the man watching him in the reflection of the doors. Heard you used to be a firefighter, Preston said. Long time ago. Why'd you quit? Personal reasons. Those are usually the interesting kind. Preston smiled, but it was all teeth. Must have been hard, though, walking away from saving people. Carter didn't answer. The elevator dinged. 17th floor. They stepped out into the burned corridor. I'll be right here if you need anything, Preston said, positioning himself near the elevator. Blocking the exit. Carter walked to the maintenance room, pulled out his inspection tools, tried to look like he was just doing his job while his mind raced. Preston was here to make sure he didn't find anything, which meant there was something to find. He examined the ventilation system again, taking new photos, checking connections. Everything looked the same as this morning. Evidence of tampering, but nothing new. Then he noticed something. A vent cover in the corner. Slightly crooked, like someone had removed it recently and didn't put it back quite right. Carter glanced back. Preston was on his phone, not watching. Carter walked over to the vent, pulled out a screwdriver. Started removing the cover as quietly as possible. Inside the vent shaft was a small metal box. Fireproof. Locked. His heart kicked into overdrive. "Everything okay over there?" Preston called out. "Yeah, just checking airflow." Carter's mind spun. He needed that box but couldn't take it with Preston watching. He took photos of it. Close-ups of the lock, the serial number. Then he replaced the vent cover and walked back to the main area. "Find anything interesting?" Preston moved closer. Same as before, system failure, old wiring. Carter packed up his tools. "I'm done here." That was fast. Not much left to inspect. They rode down in silence. In the lobby, Carter headed for the exit when his phone rang. Jenny. "Hey." "Carter, where are you?" Audrey's school called. "She got in a fight." His stomach dropped. "A fight, Audrey?" "Some kid said her dad wasn't a real hero. She punched him." Jenny sounded stressed. "I'm picking her up now, but the principal wants to talk to you." "I'm on my way." He hung up and headed for his truck. Didn't see Serena watching from the lobby window. Didn't see her pull out her phone and make a call, but he felt it. That prickle on the back of his neck that said someone was tracking his every move. The drive to Audrey's school took 15 minutes. Jenny waited outside the principal's office with Audrey, who had a puffy eye and wouldn't look at him. "Audrey?" She burst into tears. Carter knelt down and hugged her while she sobbed into his shoulder. "He said you weren't a real hero. He said his dad said you were just lucky. That anyone could have done it." The words came out between gasps. "And I got so mad." "It's okay, kiddo." "No, it's not. I hit him. I'm not supposed to hit people." She pulled back, tears streaming. "Are you mad at me?" Carter looked at his daughter, 7 years old, defending him with her fists because she believed he was something special. "I'm not mad. I'm proud you stood up for what you believe in, but hitting isn't the answer, okay? Words are stronger than fists." But he was lying. Maybe. Or maybe his dad's just scared that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they have to. Carter wiped her tears. "You know what a real hero is. Someone who admits when they're wrong. Someone who helps others even when it's hard. Someone who tells the truth even when it hurts." Audrey nodded slowly. The principal came out. They talked. Suspension for 3 days. Fighting was serious. Carter apologized, promised it wouldn't happen again, and took Audrey home. Jenny followed him inside. "What's going on with you?" "What do you mean, don't? I've known you your whole life. Something's wrong. You're acting like you did after Marcus died. Distant. Obsessed." Carter sat down, put his head in his hands. "That woman I saved, Alexandra Pierce, she's in trouble. Bad trouble. And I'm trying to help her, but it's getting complicated." "How complicated?" "The kind where people get hurt." Jenny sat next to him. "Then walk away. Call the police. Let them handle it." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because someone already got hurt trying to help, and if I walk away she might die, and I can't." His voice cracked. "I can't let that happen again." Jenny was quiet for a moment. "This is about Marcus." "Everything's about Marcus." "Carter, what happened to Marcus wasn't your fault. The explosion, the fire spreading, you being trapped outside. None of that was your fault." I hesitated, Jenny. I stood there for 10 seconds doing nothing while he burned. You stood there for 10 seconds being human, being scared. That doesn't make you a coward. It makes you a person. She squeezed his hand. And saving that woman the other night, running into that fire that took more courage than most people have in their entire lives. Carter's phone buzzed. Text from David. "Found something on Preston. Call me." He stood up. "I have to go." "Carter." "I'll be careful. I promise." He kissed Audrey's forehead, told her he loved her, and left. In his truck, he called to David. "What did you find?" "James Preston owns a property outside the city, warehouse in the industrial district. Bought it 2 years ago through an LLC registered to his wife." "Why would a security chief need a warehouse?" Exactly, and get this, the property has its own power grid. Completely off the books, no utility records, no permits. Carter felt his pulse quicken. Send me the address. Carter, you can't go there alone. If Emily's there, if Preston's involved, this could turn violent. Then call the police. Give them the address. Tell them about the kidnapping. We still don't have proof Emily was actually taken. Just a photo and some threatening texts. Then I'll get proof. Carter started the engine. Send me the address, David. A pause, then his phone pinged with a location. I'm coming with you, David said. No, stay with Alexandra. If something happens to me, she's going to need you. He hung up before David could argue. The drive took 40 minutes. Industrial district, empty buildings, abandoned lots. The kind of place where no one asks questions. Preston's warehouse sat at the end of a dead-end street. Single story. No windows. One entrance. Carter parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot. No cars outside. No movement. Could be empty. Could be a trap. He circled the building. Found a side door. Locked. But the lock was old. Easy to pick if you knew what you were doing. And Carter had learned a lot in 5 years of building inspections. The door opened with a soft click. He slipped inside. Dark. Silent. He pulled out his phone, used the Me flashlight. The warehouse was mostly empty. Some boxes in the corner. Old furniture. Nothing suspicious. Then he heard it. Muffled sound, like someone trying to scream through tape. He moved toward the sound. Found a door at the back, also locked. But this one was newer. Stronger. Emily. He kept his voice low. Emily Ross, if you're in there, make noise. Thumping. Definitely someone inside. Carter looked at the lock. Industrial grade. No way to pick it. He'd need tools. A crowbar. Something. His phone rang. The sound exploded in the silence. He fumbled to silence it, but the damage was done. Footsteps. Running. Someone else was in the warehouse. Carter turned and saw James Preston coming at him fast. You just couldn't walk away, Preston said. Then everything went dark. Carter woke up with his head pounding and zip ties cutting into his wrists. He was on the floor, concrete cold against his cheek. His vision swam as he tried to focus. He's awake. Preston's voice. Carter blinked and saw boots. 2 pairs. Preston and someone else. Get him up! Hands grabbed him, yanked him into a sitting position. Pain shot through his skull. His phone was gone. His keys. Everything. Preston crouched in front of him. You're either really brave or really stupid. Haven't decided which yet. Where's Emily? Safe for now? Preston stood up. The question is, what am I going to do with you? Carter's eyes adjusted. They were in the main warehouse area. Emily was tied to a chair 20 feet away, duct tape over her mouth. Eyes wide with terror when she saw him. The other person was Marcus Webb, Serena's assistant. Thin guy, nervous energy, kept checking his phone. Aha. Serena's not going to like this, Marcus said. Serena doesn't need to know. Preston pulled out his own phone. Baha. We handle it ourselves. Handle it how? You can't just kill him. He's famous. Half the city knows his face. Accidents happen. Buildings collapse. Gas leaks. Fires. Preston looked at Carter. Ironic, right? The hero who saves people from fires dies in one. Carter's mind raced. Zip ties on his wrists. 2 guys. Emily helpless. No phone. No way to call for help. He needed to buy time. David Chen knows I'm here. Alexandra knows. You hurt me. They go straight to the police with everything. Preston laughed. Everything. You mean the theories, the circumstantial evidence, the photos of burned wires that prove nothing? He shook his head. You've got no smoking gun, Hayes, and without one, you've got nothing. The box. Preston's smile faltered. Just for a second. What box? The fireproof box hidden in the depth ventilation shaft. I photographed it. Serial number, lock, everything. That photo is already with Alexandra's lawyer. It was a lie. The photos were on his phone, which Preston had. But Preston didn't know that. Marcus moved closer. You said you checked that vent. You said you removed everything. I did, months ago. Preston's jaw tightened. He's bluffing. What if he's not? What if there's still evidence up there? Then we deal with it. Preston turned to Marcus. Go back to the office, get into that vent, make sure there's nothing there. Now it's almost 6 p.m. Building will be crawling with people. So wait until they leave. Just do it. Preston's voice went hard. And Marcus, don't screw this up. Marcus hesitated, then left. The door slammed behind him. Preston looked at Carter. You better hope you're lying. Because if that box exists and has what I think it has, Serena's going to want both of you dead for real. What's in the box? Doesn't matter. Does to me. Preston studied him, then smiled cold. Serena's insurance policy. Evidence that frames Alexandra for everything. Forged financial documents, fake emails, all time-stamped to make it look like Pierce was embezzling for years. He walked closer. That's what your boss doesn't understand. Serena's not just stealing money. She's stealing a company. When this is over, Alexandra goes to prison, and Serena becomes CEO of Pierce Development. Carter felt sick. And the fire was supposed to destroy Alexandra's real evidence while making her look unstable, mentally breaking down, setting fires. The perfect scapegoat. Preston crouched down again. But then you had to be a hero, had to save her, and now she's got you and that lawyer digging around when she should be drowning in legal problems. So you took Emily? Emily made a mistake, started asking questions. Serena tried to scare her off, but the girl wouldn't listen. He shrugged. Some people don't know when to quit. Like me. Exactly like you. Carter tested the zip ties. Too tight. But if he could get Preston close enough, if he could get his hands free for just a few seconds. Why are you doing this? The money, Serena paying you that well? Money's part of it, but mainly... Preston's eyes went dark. I got kicked off the force for doing my job. For making hard calls. For understanding that sometimes you have to break rules to get results. Serena gets that. She appreciates people who do what needs doing. You mean people who break the law? I mean people who win. Preston stood up. I was a good cop, but good cops don't get ahead. They get investigated. They get pushed out. Meanwhile, the corrupt ones retire with pensions and medals. So you became the thing you hated. No, I became the thing that survives. Carter's phone rang in Preston's pocket. Preston pulled it out, looked at the screen. It's Alexandra Pierce. He answered it on speaker. Hello, Ms. Pierce? Silence. Then Alexandra's voice, careful. Where's Carter? He's right here, little tied up at the moment. If you hurt him, you'll what? Call the police, tell them your theories. You're a CEO who committed arson, Ms. Pierce. Your credibility is shot. Preston walked closer to Carter. But I'll make you a deal. You want your hero back. You want little Emily here to see her family again. Stop investigating. Drop it. Walk away. I can't do that. Sure you can. You go public. Confess to the fire. Take full responsibility. Say it was a mental breakdown, stress, whatever. You serve your time and everyone else stays breathing. Carter tried to shake his head, but Preston grabbed his hair, held him still. Don't do it, Carter said. Don't let them win. Preston hit him. Hard. Carter's head snapped back and blood filled his mouth. Carter. Alexandra's voice cracked. You have until midnight, Ms. Pierce. That's 6 hours. After that, I start making things permanent. Preston hung up. Carter spit blood on the floor. His vision blurred, but he stayed conscious. Barely. Preston tossed the phone on a table. Now we wait. See if your boss values your life more than her revenge. It's not revenge, it's justice. Same thing when you're angry enough. Preston walked away, made a call. Carter couldn't hear the words, but knew he was talking to Serena. Planning? Coordinating. Emily made muffled sounds through the tape. Carter looked at her. She was crying. Shaking. 25 years old and probably convinced she was going to die in this warehouse. Just like Marcus in that warehouse 5 years ago. But this time Carter wasn't frozen. This time he was going to move. He worked the zip ties against a rough edge on the floor, slowly, quietly. The plastic started to fray, not much, but enough. Preston finished his call and walked back over. Serena wants to talk to you. I've got nothing to say to her. She's got plenty to say to you. Preston held up his own phone on speaker. Mr. Hay? Mr. Hayes? Serena's voice was smooth, controlled. This is unfortunate. I actually liked you. respected what you did for Alexandra. Then let Emily go. I can't do that, not until this is resolved. A pause, but the mais. You have to understand I built Pierce Development into what it is. Me, not Alexandra. She inherited Daddy's company and played CEO while I did the actual work. The deals, the strategy, everything. By stealing millions. By earning what I deserved. Alexandra made more in a year than I made in 10 for what? A last name and inheritance. Her voice went sharp. I took what should have been mine from the beginning. And when she found out, you decided to destroy her. I decided to survive. There's a difference. Serena exhaled. Look, I don't want anyone to get hurt. Not really. But I'm not going to prison because Alexandra suddenly developed a conscience, so here's what's going to happen. She confesses, takes full responsibility. You and Emily walk away. Everyone lives. Except Alexandra. Alexandra will be fine. Rich people don't go to real prison. She'll serve a few months in some country club facility and come out with a book deal. Meanwhile, I keep the company running and everyone keeps their jobs. Serena's voice softened. Think about your daughter, Mr. Hayes. Audrey. She's 7, right? Needs her father. Don't throw your life away for someone you barely know. Carter's blood went cold. You bring my daughter into this. I'm not threatening her. I'm reminding you what you have to lose. What you should be fighting for. Serena paused. Midnight, Mr. Hayes. Alexandra confesses or things get messy. Your choice. The line went dead. Carter stared at Preston. If you touch my daughter... No one's touching your daughter. We're not monsters. Preston sat down on a crate. But Serena's right. You should think about what matters. Is Alexandra Pierce worth dying for? Worth leaving your kid without a father? The question hit harder than the punch had. Was she worth it? Carter thought about Alexandra in that hospital room. The shame in her eyes. The desperation. She'd made a mistake. A huge one. But she was trying to make it right. Trying to tell the truth even though it would destroy her. Just like Carter had been trying to make things right for 5 years. Trying to be better than the man who froze when Marcus needed him. Yeah, Carter said quietly. She is. Preston shook his head. Then you're as stupid as I thought. Time crawled. Carter kept working the zip ties. The plastic frayed more. His wrists burned from the friction, but he didn't stop. Emily had stopped crying. She just sat there now, staring at nothing. Going into shock, maybe. Preston checked his phone. Marcus should be at the building by now. He'll clear that vent and we're good. What about the security footage? Won't the cameras show him tampering with evidence? I control the cameras. I control the footage. I control what people see. Preston smiled. That's the beauty of being security chief. I'm invisible. Carter's mind raced through options. The zip ties were close to breaking. But then, what fight Preston? The guy was bigger, trained, armed, probably. Even if Carter got free, could he take him down before Preston hurt Emily? His phone rang again on the table. Preston ignored it. It rang 4 more times, then stopped. 10 minutes later, the door burst open. Carter expected Marcus. Instead, it was a woman he'd never seen before. 50 professional clothes fury in her eyes. What the hell is going on here? Preston stood up fast. Ms. Vale, I told you I'd handle this. Serena Vale walked in like she owned the place, which she probably did. She looked at Carter, then Emily, then back to Preston. This is your solution, kidnapping assault. You said handle it. I said scare them off, not create more witnesses, not leave evidence everywhere. She pulled out her phone. Marcus just called. There's no box in that vent, never was. Hayes was bluffing. Preston's face went red. I checked months ago. You checked, but Hayes was bluffing. And now we have a famous hero zip-tied on the floor and an accountant who can testify about everything. Serena's voice went ice cold. You've made this infinitely worse. So what do you want me to do? Serena looked at Carter for a long moment. He saw something in her eyes. Calculation. She was measuring options, weighing consequences. Let them go. Preston stared. What? You heard me. Cut them loose. Let them walk. They'll go straight to the police. With what's still no proof. Still just theories and accusations. Serena moved closer to Carter. And Mr. Hayes knows if he goes to the police, if he makes this public, I'll bury him. I'll show the city that he's been harassing me, stalking my employees. I'll paint him as unstable. A man with PTSD from watching his friend burn who can't let go of being a hero. Carter met her eyes. People will believe me. Some will, some won't. And by the time anyone sorts out the truth, I'll have destroyed every piece of evidence and you'll just be another conspiracy theorist. She smiled, but it was sharp. The thing about being powerful, Mr. Hayes, is that people believe what I tell them to believe. That's how power works. Not if Alexandra tells the truth. Alexandra won't. Because if she does, I'll make sure everyone she loves suffers, starting with you and your daughter. Serena's voice dropped. I looked into you, Mr. Hayes. Single father? Struggling to pay bills? Working 2 jobs? Audrey needs medicine for her asthma. Expensive medicine. What happens if your insurance suddenly gets complicated? If your job suddenly disappears? If child services suddenly gets an anonymous report about your ability to care for her? Carter's hands clenched. The zip tie snapped. He was up and moving before anyone reacted. Grabbed Preston's arm, twisted, and heard something crack. Preston screamed. Carter grabbed his gun from the holster, pointed it at Serena. Nobody moves. Serena didn't even flinch, just looked at him like he was mildly interesting. You're not going to shoot me, Mr. Hayes. You're a good man. Good men don't shoot unarmed women. Try me. No, because then you become the villain, and you can't live with that. She took a step closer. Put the gun down, walk away, let this end quietly. Carter's hand shook. She was right, he wasn't a killer. But he was trapped. If he let her go, she'd destroy everyone. If he shot her, he'd go to prison, and Audrey would be alone. Carter, Emily's voice muffled through the tape. He glanced at her. She was shaking her head, trying to tell him something. Then the door crashed open again. Police, guns drawn, shouting. Drop the weapon. Hands up now. Carter's mind blanked. How did they find him? Who called officers, thank God? Serena's voice changed instantly, scared, victimized. This man broke into my property. He has a gun. He's threatening us. That's not what happened, Carter said. Drop the weapon or we will fire. Carter looked at the cops, 4 of them, all pointing guns at him, at the hero who saved the CEO, who was now holding that same CEO at gunpoint. He dropped the weapon. They swarmed him, slammed him to the ground, cuffed him. Someone was reading rights, but Carter couldn't hear over the blood rushing in his ears. Check on Ms. Ross, Serena said. He kidnapped her. Brought her here. I tried to negotiate her release, but he became violent. That's a lie. Carter struggled, but the cops held him down. She's the one. She's been stealing. She kidnapped Emily. Sir, stop resisting. Check her office. Check the financial records. Call David Chen. He's Alexandra Pierce's lawyer. He has evidence. But they weren't listening. They pulled him up, started walking him toward the door. Carter saw Emily. One of the cops was cutting her restraints, pulling off the tape. She looked at Carter with terrified eyes. Tell them, Carter said. Emily, tell them the truth. Emily opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Tell them. Emily looked at Serena, then back at Carter. I don't know what's happening. This man came to my apartment, said he needed to talk. Brought me here, then she showed up and he pulled a gun. Carter felt his world collapse. No. Emily, no. You called me. You said you had evidence. I never called you. Your phone. Check her phone, the call logs. One of the cops checked. No outgoing calls to his number, ma'am. Because they'd erased it, or cloned her phone, or done whatever tech magic people like Serena could afford. They dragged Carter outside. News vans were already pulling up. Someone had tipped them off. Probably Serena, the hero who saved the CEO, now arrested for kidnapping and assault. The story practically wrote itself. Carter was shoved into a police car. Through the window, he saw Serena talking to reporters, playing the victim, the brave executive who talked down a disturbed man. His phone rang in the evidence bag. Probably Alexandra. Probably David. Probably Jenny freaking out because her brother just got arrested on live television. The car pulled away. Carter leaned his head back and closed his eyes. He'd lost. Serena had won. And now Emily would stay quiet out of fear and Alexandra would go down for arson while Serena stole everything. Just like the warehouse. just like Marcus. Carter had tried to be brave, tried to do the right thing, and it hadn't been enough. At the police station, they processed him. Fingerprints, photos. Miranda writes again. They put him in an interrogation room and left him there. An hour passed, then 2. Carter stared at the mirror, knowing people were behind it. Watching, judging. Finally, the door opened. A detective walked in. 50 tired eyes wedding ring. Name tag said Morrison. Mr. Hayes, hell of a day you've had. Carter said nothing. Want to tell me your side? Morrison sat down. Because right now it looks pretty bad. You broke into private property, assaulted a security officer, held 2 women at gunpoint. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? Carter took a breath, started talking, told him everything. The fire, Alexandra's confession, Serena's embezzlement, the sabotage, Emily's call, the warehouse, all of it. Morrison listened, took notes. His face gave nothing away. That's quite a story. It's the truth. You have proof of any of this, the embezzlement, the sabotage, the kidnapping. David Chen has evidence. Alexandra Pierce can confirm everything. Alexandra Pierce, the woman who committed arson and might be lying to save herself. She's not lying. And this David Chen, he can verify your claims. Yes. Morrison stood up. I'll look into it. Meanwhile, you're being charged with breaking and entering assault and unlawful restraint. Bail hearing is tomorrow morning. You have to investigate Serena Vale. Check her financials. Check the building's ventilation system. Talk to Emily Ross without Serena there. Mr. Hayes, I've been a detective for 20 years. I know how to investigate. Morrison walked to the door. But I'll tell you something. Rich people have lawyers. Good ones. And you just assaulted one of the most powerful executives in this city, so unless your evidence is airtight, you're going down hard. He left. The door locked behind him. Carter sat alone in that room and thought about Audrey. About how he'd promised to be careful, about how he'd failed again. His phone was in evidence, but he could picture it ringing. Jenny calling, Alexandra calling, David trying to fix this, but some things couldn't be fixed. Some mistakes were permanent. The door opened again. But it wasn't Morrison. It was Alexandra Pierce. She looked exhausted. Hair pulled back, no makeup, jeans and a sweater. Nothing like the polished CEO from the news. How did you get in here? I told them I was the victim, that I needed to see you. She sat down across from him. Carter, what were you thinking? I was thinking I could save Emily. I was wrong. David's working on bail. We'll get you out. And then what Serena wins? She's got Emily too scared to talk. She's got the police believing I'm unstable. She's got everything. Alexandra was quiet for a moment. Then she reached across the table and took his hand. No, she doesn't. She doesn't have the truth. And she doesn't have me backing down. Alex, she threatened Audrey. She threatened everyone I love. You can't fight that. Watch me. Alexandra's grip tightened. Tomorrow morning there's a board meeting. Emergency session to discuss the fire and the company's future. Serena thinks she's going to use it to force me out. To take control. She will. Not if I tell them everything first. Not if I stand up in front of the board and the press and confess to everything. The fire, the evidence, Serena's embezzlement, all of it. Carter shook his head. You'll destroy yourself. Maybe, but I'll take her down with me. Alexandra's eyes burned. You ran into a fire to save me. The least I can do is run into one to save you. That's not how this works. That's exactly how it works. You showed me that truth matters more than survival. That doing the right thing is worth the cost. She stood up. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pierce Development. The whole world is going to hear what really happened. And Serena Vale is going to answer for what she's done. She'll have lawyers. She'll spin it. You'll end up in prison while she walks. Then I'll be in prison knowing I told the truth. That I stopped being a coward. Alexandra moved to the door. Get some rest, Carter. Tomorrow we finish this. She left before he could argue. Carter sat there thinking about heroes and truth and the price of doing what's right. Thought about Marcus burning while he stood frozen. Thought about Emily too scared to speak. Thought about Audrey watching her father on TV getting arrested. And he thought about Alexandra Pierce walking into that board meeting knowing it would destroy her but doing it anyway. Maybe that's what bravery really was. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to burn anyway. Carter didn't sleep. They kept him in holding overnight bail hearing set for 8 a.m. He sat on the metal bench counting ceiling tiles and thinking about everything that could go wrong. At 7:30, they brought him to the courtroom. David Chen was already there with a bail bondsman. Judge took one look at Carter's record, his community ties, his daughter, and set bail at $50,000. David paid it. 20 minutes later, Carter walked out into morning sunlight. Jenny was waiting on the courthouse steps. She didn't say anything, just hugged him hard. Audrey's with Mom. She doesn't know you were arrested. I told her you were working. Jenny pulled back. Carter, what is happening? I'm trying to make something right that went wrong. By getting yourself thrown in jail? By not giving up this time? David walked over. We have 40 minutes before the board meeting. Alexandra's already at the office preparing. I need to be there. You sure you show up? Serena's lawyers will claim harassment. Could violate your bail conditions. I don't care. Carter looked at Jenny. Tell Audrey I love her. Tell her Daddy's trying to be the hero she thinks I am. Jenny's eyes filled. You already are. The drive to Pierce Development took 15 minutes. David talked the whole way explaining the plan. Alexandra would address the board first. Confess to the arson, then present evidence of Serena's embezzlement and sabotage. The board would have to investigate. The police would have to reopen the case. What about Emily Tuss? Carter asked. Still maintaining she doesn't know anything. Serena's got her terrified. We need her testimony. I know, but I can't force her to speak. She has to choose to. They pulled into the parking garage. News vans lined the street outside. Word had leaked about the emergency board meeting. Everyone wanted to see what happened next. Inside the lobby was chaos, employees everywhere. Security trying to manage the crowd? Carter spotted Preston near the elevators talking into his radio. Their eyes met. Preston smiled cold and moved his hand to his hip where his gun sat. Stay close to me, David said. They took the elevator to the top floor. Executive conference room, glass walls, 20 board members already seated. Serena at the head of the table looking calm and composed. Alexandra sat at the opposite end papers in front of her face, pale but determined. Carter and David slipped into the back of the room. Serena saw them and her jaw tightened, but she didn't react otherwise. The board chairman, an older man named Robert Caldwell, called the meeting to order. We're here to address the fire at Pierce Tower and discuss the future of this company. Ms. Pierce has requested to speak first. He nodded at Alexandra. The floor is yours. Alexandra stood. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice came out steady. 3 weeks ago, I discovered that someone in this company had been embezzling millions of dollars over 2 years. I found financial records, offshore transfers, shell companies, all of it. She took a breath. And instead of immediately going to the police, I panicked. I made the worst decision of my life. The room went silent. I set fire to my office. I thought if I destroyed the physical evidence, I'd have time to figure out what to do. Time to protect the company. Protect all of you. Her voice cracked. But I was wrong. And I'm here today to confess that I committed arson. I'm here to take responsibility for my crime. Murmurs rippled through the B-board. Serena leaned forward, eyes sharp. Alexandra, you're not well. This is clearly a mental health crisis. We should postpone this meeting and get you help. I'm not having a crisis, Serena. I'm telling the truth for the first time. Alexandra pulled out documents. These are the financial records I found. Proof of systematic embezzlement. And these, she held up more papers, are building maintenance logs showing unauthorized access to the ventilation system the day before the fire. Those could be fabricated, Serena said smoothly. You're desperate to shift blame. Then explain why your access card was used to enter the maintenance room at 2 a.m. the night before the fire. My card could have been cloned. Anyone could have taken it. And the offshore account's in your name. I don't have offshore accounts. David stood up. Actually, you do. We've traced transfers to 3 shell companies registered under your maiden name. $23 million over 24 months. Serena's face didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. That's impossible. We have bank records, transaction dates, amounts that match exactly with budget discrepancies in quarterly reports. David walked forward, placed documents on the table. Ms., Ross in accounting flagged these irregularities weeks ago. She tried to bring them to your attention, Ms. Vale, but you told her to keep quiet. Emily Ross is mistaken. Is she? Because she's prepared to testify about your threats. She'll do no such thing. Serena's voice went sharp. Emily understands the situation. She knows what happens to people who spread lies about executives. Robert Caldwell frowned. That sounds like a threat, Ms. Vale. It's a fact. This company protects itself from false accusations. Carter couldn't stay quiet anymore. He moved forward. It's not a false accusation. You've been stealing. You sabotaged the building. And when you got caught, you tried to frame Alexandra for everything. Serena looked at him like he was an insect. Mr. Hayes, the disturbed individual who held me at gunpoint yesterday. Your credibility is questionable at best. My credibility is fine. Yours is the problem. Is it because from where I'm sitting, you're a traumatized ex-firefighter with PTSD who can't let go of playing hero? You've inserted yourself into this situation, harassed my staff, and now you're supporting a woman who admits she committed arson. Serena stood up. Alexandra is clearly having a breakdown. She needs help, not enablers who feed her delusions. This isn't a delusion, Alexandra said. Everything I'm saying is true. Then prove it. Show me one piece of evidence that directly ties me to these alleged crimes. Serena looked around the table. Because what I see are circumstantial claims, forged documents, and the desperate accusations of a woman facing prison time. David opened his briefcase. We have proof. The building's ventilation system was deliberately tampered with to ensure the fire would spread. Carter Hayes documented the sabotage, and we have testimony from... An alarm cut him off. Loud, piercing, the fire alarm. People stood up confused. Through the glass walls, Carter saw smoke. Not a lot. Just wisps curling up from the floor below. Everyone remain calm. Preston's voice came over the intercom. This is a precautionary evacuation. Please proceed to the nearest stairwell in an orderly fashion. But Carter knew. He knew immediately. It's her. He looked at Serena. You planned this. Another fire to destroy the evidence. Serena smiled. I didn't plan anything. But these old buildings do have problems, especially after fire damage. Such a shame. The board members started moving toward the exits. Robert Caldwell tried to maintain order. Everyone stay calm. We'll reconvene once. No. Alexandra's voice cut through the chaos. This is exactly what she wants. Chaos? Confusion. The meeting interrupted and evidence destroyed. The building is on fire, someone said. We need to leave. Carter moved to the window. Smoke was coming from the 17th floor, the same floor that burned 3 weeks ago, the same floor where all the physical evidence was stored. It's not a real fire, Carter said. It's controlled, just enough smoke to evacuate the building and stop this meeting. How could you possibly know that? Serena asked. Because I'm a building safety expert, and because this is exactly what someone would do if they were desperate to stop the truth from coming out. David pulled out his phone. I'm calling the fire department. They're already on their way, Preston's voice said. He'd entered the conference room. Standard protocol, everyone needs to evacuate now. Carter looked at Preston, then at Serena. They were too calm, too prepared. You triggered this remotely, you or Preston. You have control of the building systems. That's absurd, Serena said. I'm a COO, not a building engineer. But Preston is head of security. He has access to everything. Carter turned to the board. Don't leave. If we evacuate now, she wins. The evidence burns, this meeting is over, and Serena walks away clean. Robert Caldwell shook his head. Mr. Hayes, we can't risk people's lives over allegations. They're not allegations, they're facts. Alexandra stood firm. And I'm not leaving until everyone here knows the truth. Neither am I, David said. Serena laughed. How noble. The three of you can burn together while the rest of us survive. Board members were already heading for the doors. Preston blocked the way, ushering them out. In 30 seconds, the room would be empty. Carter made a decision. He ran. Out of the conference room past Preston, who tried to grab him but missed toward the stairwell. He heard footsteps behind him. Alexandra. David. Maybe others. He took the stairs down 2 at a time. 17th floor. The door was hot when he touched it. Not burning hot. Warm. Smoke seeped underneath. Carter, don't... Alexandra's voice behind him. But he was already opening the door. Smoke poured out. Not thick, not overwhelming, just enough to trigger alarms and create panic. Carter pulled his shirt over his mouth and went in. The floor looked the same as yesterday. Burned walls, damaged offices. But now there was new smoke coming from the maintenance room, the ventilation access. He ran toward it. Inside the room, he found the source. Smoke grenades. 3 of them. Military grade, releasing steady streams of non-toxic smoke designed to look like fire without actual flames. Carter grabbed them one by one and threw them out the window. The smoke started to clear. Alexandra appeared in the doorway. Is it real? No, just smoke, no fire. Carter looked at her. They faked it. Tried to shut down your confession with a false alarm. Then we go back, right now, before anyone leaves the building. They ran back to the stairwell, up to the top floor. The conference room was half empty. Preston was still ushering people out. Stop! Alexandra's voice rang out. It's not a real fire. It was smoke grenades. A fake emergency. People froze, turned, confused. Preston's hand moved toward his radio, but Carter was faster. He grabbed Preston's wrist, twisted, and pulled the radio away. You're not calling anyone. Preston tried to fight, but Carter had 5 years of pent-up rage and guilt fueling him. He shoved Preston against the wall and held him there. Tell them Serena ordered you to trigger the smoke. I don't know what you're talking about. The smoke grenades, military grade, where'd you get them? You can't prove anything. Actually, a voice said from the doorway, he can. Emily Ross stood there, pale, shaking, but standing. Emily? Serena's voice went soft, dangerous. You should go home. You've been through a trauma. I have, because of you. Emily walked into the room. Her voice trembled, but she kept talking. You threatened me. Told me if I said anything about the financial discrepancies, you'd destroy my career, my life, everything. That's not true. It is, and yesterday when Carter Hayes came to find me, your people grabbed me, took me to that warehouse, kept me there until the police came. Emily looked at the board members. She kidnapped me, used me to frame him. She's lying, Serena said. She's confused, traumatized. I'm not lying, and I'm not confused anymore. Emily pulled out her phone. I recorded our conversation, the one where you threatened me, where you told me to keep quiet about the offshore accounts. David moved fast. Can I see that? Emily handed him the phone. David hit play. Serena's voice filled the room. You need to understand something, Emily. People who cause problems for me don't have careers. They don't have references. They barely have futures. So when I tell you to keep your mouth shut about what you think you found, you keep it shut. Understood? But the numbers don't add up. Someone's stealing millions. There's no theft. There's strategic allocation of resources. And if you can't understand the difference, maybe you're not smart enough to work here. The recording stopped. Everyone stared at Serena. That proves nothing, Serena said. That's a conversation about normal business operations. Normal business doesn't threaten employees, Robert Caldwell said slowly. And it doesn't involve offshore accounts we don't know about. Those accounts are legitimate. Then you won't mind us investigating them. David looked at the board. I move that we immediately suspend Ms. Vale pending a full forensic audit of the company's finances. Seconded, another board member said. Robert looked at Serena. Ms. Vale, I'm afraid we need to place you on administrative leave until this is resolved. Serena's composure finally cracked. This is ridiculous. You're going to believe a disturbed CEO, a traumatized ex-firefighter, and a junior accountant over me? I've run this company for 2 years. I've made you all money. I've kept this place running while Alexandra played at being a leader. You've also apparently been stealing from us, Robert said. So, yes, we're going to investigate. Serena looked around the room, at the board members, at Emily, at Alexandra and Carter. Her eyes landed on Preston. Fix this. Preston didn't move. I'm not fixing anything. You're done. You work for me. I worked for your money. Money you don't have anymore. Preston pulled out handcuffs from his belt. And since I'm technically still head of security, I'm detaining you until the police arrive. You can't do this. Watch me. He moved toward Serena, but she ran. Out of the conference room, down the hall toward the emergency exit. Carter went after her. So did Alexandra. Serena hit the stairwell door and started down. Carter followed, taking steps 3 at a time. Alexandra right behind him. "Serena, stop!" Alexandra called. "There's nowhere to go." But Serena kept running, down and down, past the lobby level, into the parking garage. She had a car there. Black sedan, keys in her hand. She was 10 feet from it when Carter caught up. "It's over." Serena spun around. In her hand was a small revolver. Where she'd hidden it, Carter had no idea. But she pointed it at him with steady hands. "Back away." Carter froze. "Matibu, you don't want to do this. You don't know what I want. You don't know anything about me." Serena's voice shook. "I built this company. Me. Not Alexandra's dead father. Not the board. Me. And you're not taking it away. You took it away yourself? When you started stealing? When you hurt people?" "I did what I needed to survive in a world that doesn't value women unless they're perfect. Unless they're rich already. Unless they're born into it like Alexandra." Alexandra appeared at the stairwell door. Said, "Serena, please, put the gun down." "Why? So you can send me to prison? So you can take credit for saving the company?" Serena laughed. "You were going to confess anyway. You were going to prison. I just sped things up." "You're right. I was going to confess. I am going to confess." Alexandra took a step forward. "But you don't have to make this worse. You don't have to hurt anyone else." "I'm not going to prison." "Then run. Get in your car and go. But leave Carter alone. He's just trying to do the right thing." "The right thing?" Serena's hand shook. "There is no right thing. There's only survival." Carter saw it then. The desperation, the fear. Serena wasn't evil. She was terrified, trapped, like a cornered animal. "You're scared," Carter said quietly. "I get it. I've been scared for 5 years, so scared I couldn't move when it mattered. Couldn't save my friend because I was frozen with fear. I'm not you. No, you're braver than I was because you're still moving, still fighting." He took a small step closer. "But fighting doesn't mean hurting people. It means facing what you did, owning it, like Alexandra's doing. Alexandra's a fool. Maybe, but she's a fool who can sleep at night. Can you—" Serena's hand lowered slightly. "I haven't slept in 2 years." "Then stop running. Stop fighting. Just stop." For a moment, Carter thought she would. Thought she'd lower the gun and let this end. Then footsteps echoed in the garage. Police, coming down the stairs. Serena's eyes went wild. "I'm not going to prison. I won't." She raised the gun, not at Carter, at herself. "No." Alexandra lunged forward. The gun went off, but Alexandra had grabbed Serena's wrist, pushed it up. The bullet hit the concrete ceiling. Dust and chips rained down. Carter grabbed the gun, wrestled it away. Serena collapsed against Alexandra, sobbing. "It's over," Alexandra whispered. "It's finally over." Police poured into the garage, guns drawn, shouting. Carter set the revolver on the ground and put his hands up. Alexandra did the same, still holding Serena. Detective Morrison appeared. He looked at Carter, at Alexandra, at Serena crying on the ground. "Someone want to explain what the hell is happening?" "Confession," Carter said. "We have a full confession. Multiple witnesses, recording evidence, everything." Morrison looked at Alexandra. "You're the CEO who set the fire." "Yes, I'll give a full statement, but she—" Alexandra pointed at Serena, "is the one who's been stealing millions and sabotaging buildings and kidnapping employees." "That's a serious accusation." "With serious evidence. My lawyer has everything. Financial records, building access logs, recorded threats, testimony from Emily Ross and Carter Hayes, and soon I'm guessing from James Preston, who probably wants to cut a deal." Morrison sighed. "This is going to be the longest paperwork day of my life." They arrested Serena, read her rights, led her to a police car. She didn't fight, didn't argue, just walked like someone who'd already given up. Preston got arrested too. So did Marcus Webb. The whole conspiracy falling apart now that the center couldn't hold. Emily gave her statement, then Carter, then Alexandra. By noon, the news had exploded. CEO confesses to arson. COO arrested for embezzlement. Pierce development in chaos. But underneath the chaos was truth. Finally, burning bright where everyone could see it. Carter sat on the hood of his truck in the parking garage, exhausted. Alexandra found him there. "You okay?" "I don't know. Ask me in a week." She sat next to him. "Thank you. For not giving up? For believing the truth mattered." "Did it matter you're still going to prison?" "Maybe, but I'm going free." She smiled. "That probably doesn't make sense." "It does." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Alexandra laughed. "Not bitter, just tired. You know what's funny? I spent my whole life trying to be perfect. The perfect daughter, the perfect CEO, the perfect everything. And the moment I admitted I was broken, that's when I finally felt whole." Carter thought about Marcus. About 5 years of guilt. About running into that fire 3 weeks ago when he'd sworn he never would again. Maybe that's what being human is, being broken and doing your best anyway. Maybe. David walked over. "Police want your formal statement downtown Alexandra. I'll go with you." She nodded, stood up, looked at Carter. "What will you do now?" "Go home, hug my daughter. Try to explain why Daddy's been all over the news." "She'll understand. Kids usually do." Alexandra started to walk away, stopped. "Carter, when this is over, when the trials are done and the dust settles, I want to build something good. In Marcus's name. In memory of everyone who tried to do the right thing." "Like what?" "A foundation. Fire safety education. Support for first responders. Ethical leadership programs. Turn our mistakes into lessons." She smiled. "Think about it." Then she left with David. Left Carter sitting there in an empty parking garage thinking about truth and lies and the price of both. His phone rang. "Jenny. Please tell me you're okay." "I'm okay." "The news is saying you stopped a criminal mastermind." "The news is exaggerating." "Carter, they're calling you a hero. Again." He looked at the building, at the place where so much had burned, where so much had been lied. "I'm not a hero, Jen. I'm just a guy who finally stopped running from fires." "That's exactly what a hero is." Maybe she was right. Or maybe heroes were just people who kept trying even when they failed. Who faced their fear even when it burned. Either way, Carter was done running, done freezing, done letting guilt make his choices. He drove home to his daughter, and for the first time in 5 years, the weight on his chest felt lighter. Audrey was waiting on the front porch when Carter pulled into the driveway. The moment she saw his truck, she ran. He barely got the door open before she launched herself into his arms. "Daddy!" He held her tight, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo and feeling her small body shake with sobs against his chest. "I'm here, kiddo. I'm right here. Jenny said you were working, but the TV said you were in jail, and then it said you saved people again, and I didn't know what was real." The words tumbled out between gasps. "Are you okay? Are you hurt? Are the bad people gone?" Carter carried her inside, sat on the couch with her in his lap like he used to when she was smaller. Jenny stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes wet. "The bad people are gone. And yeah, I got hurt a little bit, but I'm okay now. Promise. Promise." Audrey pulled back to look at his face. Her eye was still puffy from the fight at school. His lip was split from Preston's hit. They were a matching pair of warriors. "And you're really a hero, huh?" "I don't know about that." "The TV says you are. They keep showing you carrying that lady. And then today they said you stopped a criminal." She wiped her nose. "Tommy's dad says you're the bravest person in the city." Carter thought about all the times he hadn't been brave. All the moments he'd frozen or run or given up. Bravery isn't about never being scared, Audrey. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared, even when it's hard. Is that what you did? "I tried. I failed a bunch of times, but I kept trying." That's what makes you a hero, Daddy. You don't give up. Jenny brought them dinner. They ate together, the three of them, and slowly things felt normal again. Audrey talked about school and her friends and a book she was reading. Carter let the ordinary wash over him like medicine. Later, after Audrey was asleep, Jenny sat with him on the porch. "What happens now?" "Legal stuff, statements, maybe testimony if it goes to trial." Carter rubbed his face. "Alexandra's pleading guilty to the arson. Her lawyer thinks she'll get probation since no one was hurt and she cooperated." "What about you?" "Charges dropped. Self-defense. Detective Morrison actually apologized for not believing me sooner." "And the CEO, Lady Serena?" "Prison. Probably 20 years between the embezzlement, the kidnapping, attempted murder. Preston too. Marcus Webb is cooperating for a reduced sentence. Jenny was quiet for a moment. You could have died. I know. And you did it anyway. Had to. For Emily. For Alexandra. For myself, I think. He looked at his sister. I've been running from Marcus's death for 5 years. Running from the guilt. But you can't outrun fire. You have to face it. Did you face it? I'm trying. The next morning, Carter called the therapist he'd stopped seeing 3 years ago, Dr. Sarah Chen, made an appointment, told her he was ready to actually deal with things instead of just talking around them. She seemed surprised but pleased. What changed? I stopped being scared of what I'd find if I looked too close. The weeks that followed were strange. Carter went back to work doing building inspections. Normal life, ordinary routines. But everywhere he went, people recognized him, asked for photos, called him a hero. He hated it and appreciated it in equal measure. Alexandra's trial happened fast. She pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment and criminal mischief. The judge, seeing her cooperation and the fact that the fire had ultimately exposed a larger crime, sentenced her to 2 years probation, 500 hours community service, and a substantial fine. No prison time. The media went crazy. Some called it justice. Some called it privilege. Carter thought it was complicated, like most real things were. Serena's trial took longer. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, recorded threats, Emily's testimony, Preston's cooperation. She got 25 years, no parole for at least 15. Carter watched the sentencing on TV with Audrey. When the verdict came down, Audrey asked if he felt happy. Not happy, relieved maybe. Justice isn't always happy. What is it then? Fair, it's fair. 3 months after the fire, Alexandra called him. I have a proposal. They met at a coffee shop. She looked different, lighter, like someone had lifted a weight she'd been carrying too long. How's probation treating you? Better than prison would have. I'm grateful, she smiled. Community service has been eye-opening. I've been working at a women's shelter, listening to stories, realizing how lucky I am. That's good. It is, but I want to do more, something lasting. She pulled out a folder. Remember what I said about building something in Marcus's name? The foundation. I've been working with David and some nonprofit consultants. We've got a plan. She opened the folder. Documents, mission statements, budget projections. The Boone Foundation. Fire safety education for underserved communities. Scholarships for children of first responders. Ethical leadership training for executives. Mental health support for firefighters and emergency workers. Carter felt something catch in his throat. Marcus would have loved this. That's the idea. Turn our mistakes into lessons. Make sure something good comes from all that burning. Alexandra looked at him. But I can't do it alone. I need someone who understands the mission. Someone people trust. Someone who knows what it's like to carry guilt and find redemption. Alex, I'm not asking you to quit your job. Just be on the board. Help guide it. Lend your name and your story. She paused. And maybe eventually run it with me if you want. Carter thought about Marcus, about the warehouse, about 5 years of guilt that was finally starting to ease. Yeah, I want that. They spent the next 6 months building it, finding office space, hiring staff, creating programs. Carter worked nights and weekends while keeping his day job. Audrey helped sometimes, stuffing envelopes, organizing files. She liked feeling part of something important. Emily Ross became their first hire, Director of Financial Operations. She'd testified against Serena and found she had a spine made of steel underneath all that fear. Now she used it to make sure every dollar went where it should. David Chen handled the legal work pro bono. Said it was the most meaningful thing he'd done in 20 years of corporate law. Jenny helped with fundraising. Turned out she was persuasive when she believed in something. Even Detective Morrison donated. Said he'd misjudged Carter and wanted to make it right. The foundation grew. Slowly. Carefully. Every decision intentional. Every program designed to actually help people instead of just looking good. Carter and Alexandra worked side by side. They argued sometimes. About budgets, about priorities, about whether to accept certain donations. But the arguments were good, honest, built on mutual respect. One night, working late in the office, Alexandra asked him something she'd been dancing around for months. "Do you blame me for Marcus?" Carter looked up from the grant application he was reviewing. "What? The warehouse fire. You said you froze, that you couldn't save him. But you ran into my fire without hesitating." She met his eyes. "So I wonder if saving me was your way of trying to fix what happened with Marcus. And if it was, do you blame me for not being enough, for not making up for what you lost?" Carter was quiet for a long time. Dr. Chen had asked him similar questions in therapy, helped him work through the complicated knot of guilt and redemption and self-worth. "I don't blame you for anything, Alex. Saving you wasn't about Marcus. It was about me finally doing what I should have done 5 years ago, moving instead of freezing." He set down the papers. "And you did make up for it. Not by being saved, but by showing me that mistakes don't have to define us, that we can own what we did wrong and still build something right. That's very therapeutic. I have a good therapist. I should get one." "You should." She smiled. "You know what's weird? I spent my whole life being perfect, and now that everyone knows I'm broken, I feel more real than I ever did." "That's not weird. That's honest." "Is there a difference?" "Not a good one." The months turned into a year. The foundation officially launched with a gala that raised $2 million. Carter wore a suit that made him uncomfortable and gave a speech that made him more uncomfortable. But Audrey sat in the front row with Jenny and his mom, beaming with pride, and that made it worth it. Alexandra spoke too, told her story, the mistakes, the fear, the redemption. People cried, some left angry, but most stayed and donated and told their own stories of failure and recovery. That's when Carter realized the foundation wasn't just about fire safety. It was about second chances, about proving that broken people could heal if they were brave enough to face the flames. A month after the gala, they planned the official opening ceremony for the foundation's first community center. It would serve the neighborhood where Marcus had grown up, where kids needed programs and families needed support, and the fire department needed better equipment. The night before the opening, Carter couldn't sleep. He stood in Audrey's doorway watching her breathe, thinking about how close he'd come to losing everything. How one decision to run toward fire instead of away had changed his entire life. "Can't sleep either." He turned. Jenny stood in the hallway, hair messy, wearing an old t-shirt. "Too much in my head." "Tomorrow's a big day." "Yeah." "Marcus would be proud of you." Those words used to hurt, used to feel like knives. Now they felt like healing. "I hope so." "He would be. You took the worst thing that ever happened and turned it into something that helps people. That's not just brave, Carter. That's beautiful." The opening ceremony happened at dusk. The community center glowed with lights. Families gathered. Local firefighters in dress uniforms, city council members, press cameras. Carter stood on the small stage with Alexandra. Audrey sat in the front row between Jenny and Emily Ross. The three of them had become friends over the past year. Audrey called Emily her big sister, and Emily treated her like one. Alexandra spoke first, talked about the center, the programs, the mission. Then she introduced Carter. He walked to the microphone and looked at the crowd, at the faces waiting to hear what he'd say. 5 years ago, I lost my best friend in a fire. His name was Marcus Boone, and he was the bravest person I knew. He ran into danger to save others. He believed in doing the right thing even when it cost him. And when he needed me to be brave, I froze. I stood outside that warehouse for 10 seconds doing nothing while he burned alive inside. The crowd was silent. I've carried that guilt every day since. It followed me everywhere. Made me afraid. Made me quit the job I loved. Made me believe I was the worst thing I'd ever done. Carter's voice cracked, but he kept going. Then 3 weeks ago, I ran into another fire. Saved a woman I didn't know. And when I learned she'd started that fire herself, I had a choice. I could judge her, hate her, walk away. Or I could understand that people are more than their worst moments. He looked at Alexandra. She was crying quietly. We built this foundation because we believe in second chances. We believe broken people can heal. We believe mistakes don't have to be the end of your story. Carter gestured to the building behind him. This center is named after Marcus Boone because he deserves to be remembered. Not for how he died, but for how he lived. With courage, with integrity, with love for his community. The crowd applauded. Carter stepped back and Alexandra took the microphone again. In a moment, we're going to do something symbolic. Something Carter taught me about fire safety that became a metaphor for everything we're trying to do here. She gestured to a table where 3 large candles sat. Carter, Audrey, can you join me? Carter walked down, took Audrey's hand. Together they stepped to the table where Alexandra waited with a lighter. These candles represent the past, the present, and the future. Alexandra said to the crowd, we're going to light them, and then we're going to blow them out. But not the way you might think. She lit the 3 candles. Flames danced in the evening air. When you face fire, your instinct is to blow it out hard, to attack it head-on. But that doesn't work. The force just spreads the flames. Alexandra looked at Carter. What's the right way? Carter knelt next to Audrey. You face it gently, from the side. Like this. The 3 of them stood at an angle to the candles. Took a breath. Blew softly sideways across the flames. All 3 candles went out. That's how you deal with fire, Carter said to the crowd. Not with force, with gentleness, from an angle, with breath that's calm and steady. And that's how we deal with our past, Alexandra added. Not by fighting it, not by pretending it doesn't exist, but by facing it calmly, honestly, from a different perspective, until the burning stops. Audrey looked up at her father. That's what you did, right, Daddy? You stopped fighting the fire in your head. Carter's throat tightened. Yeah, kiddo, that's exactly what I did. The ceremony continued. Tours of the center, refreshments, conversations. Carter shook hands and answered questions and tried to be present. But his mind kept drifting to that moment with the candles, to the gentle breath that put out flames, to the understanding that healing doesn't come from force but from acceptance. Near the end of the night, he found himself alone with Alexandra on the center's back patio. The city spread out before them like a field of stars. We did it, Alexandra said. We did. Think it'll last the foundation, the programs. If we keep fighting for it, keep believing it matters. I do believe that, more than I've believed anything. She turned to him. Can I tell you something? Always. The night of the fire, when I said it, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd destroyed everything that mattered. And in a way I had. The old life, the perfect image, the person I pretended to be. She smiled. But then you pulled me out of those flames, and you gave me something I didn't know I needed. A chance to be honest, to be real, to be broken and okay with it. You did that yourself, Alex. I just showed up. You showed up when it mattered. That's everything. They stood in comfortable silence. A year ago they'd been strangers. Now they were partners, friends. Maybe something more eventually, though neither of them had said it out loud. Some things needed time, needed healing, needed to burn slow instead of fast. Do you still see it? Alexandra asked quietly. The warehouse, Marcus. Every day, but it doesn't hurt the same way anymore. It's just memory now instead of torture. Good, that's good. She looked at the city lights. I still see my office burning. I still smell the smoke, but you're right. It's different now. It's just what happened, not who I am. That's the trick, isn't it, separating the two? That we remember this, she said. That we stop seeing ourselves as the worst thing we've ever done. Carter thought about those words, thought about Marcus and the warehouse and 10 seconds of frozen fear, thought about Alexandra and the fire and the courage it took to confess. Thought about all the broken people who'd been helped by the foundation this year, all the second chances that had been given. You know what Marcus used to say? Carter asked. What? That the only fires worth remembering are the ones that teach us something. The rest are just destruction. He looked at her. I think we learned something from all that burning. What did we learn? That honesty burns, that truth hurts, but they're the only things that don't leave scars. Alexandra was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed softly. That's very poetic for a building inspector. I have hidden depths. I noticed. Inside the center, Carter could hear Audrey's laugh. She was playing with some of the neighborhood kids who'd come to the ceremony, running around, being 7, being free from the weight her father had carried for so long. She's happy, Alexandra said. Audrey, she lights up when she talks about you. She's the reason I didn't give up. After Marcus, after everything. She needed me to be okay, so I tried to be okay. Fake it till you make it. Did you make it? Carter thought about that. About therapy and the foundation and learning to forgive himself. About facing fires instead of running, about breath that was calm and steady and sideways. Getting there, he said. Every day a little closer. The night wound down. Families left. Staff cleaned up. Carter found Audrey asleep in one of the reading nooks, curled up with a book about firefighters. He carried her to the truck, Jenny following with Audrey's backpack and stuffed dog. Hell of a thing you built, Jenny said. We built it, all of us. Yeah, but you started it. You kept it going when it would have been easier to quit. She smiled. I'm proud of you, little brother. Thanks, Jen. He drove home with Audrey sleeping in the back seat. The city passed by. Same streets he'd driven for years, but they looked different now. Brighter somehow. Or maybe he was different. Maybe carrying less weight meant seeing more light. At home, he carried Audrey to bed, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. She stirred slightly. Love you, Daddy? Love you too, kiddo. Did we help people tonight with the center? Yeah, we did. Good. That's what heroes do. She rolled over, already falling back asleep. They help people and they don't give up. Carter stood there in her doorway for a long time, watching her breathe, feeling grateful, feeling healed in ways he didn't know were possible a year ago. His phone buzzed. Text from Alexandra. Thank you for tonight, for everything, for saving my life and then teaching me how to live it. He typed back, thank you for teaching me it's okay to be broken. That mistakes are just part of the story, not the whole thing. Marcus would be proud. Carter looked at those words, let them sink in. Let them heal the parts that still hurt. Yeah, he would. He went to bed that night, and for the first time in 5 years, he didn't dream about the warehouse. Didn't dream about flames or screaming or 10 seconds of paralysis. He dreamed about Audrey laughing, about the foundation helping families, about candles being blown out gently from the side. He dreamed about healing. The next morning, Carter woke up early, made coffee, sat on the porch watching the sunrise. Audrey found him there an hour later. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Bad dreams. No, good thoughts. She sat next to him. They watched the sky turn colors together. Daddy, do you think people can really change? Like be different than they were before? Why do you ask? Because you're different now. You smile more. You don't look so sad all the time. She looked up at him. Did helping Ms. Pierce change you? Not helping her, but facing what scared me, that changed me. The fire. The guilt. The feeling that I'd failed Marcus. He pulled her close. But I learned something important. You can't change the past. You can only change how you carry it. How do you carry it now? Lighter. Like it's a memory instead of a burden. Audrey nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Kids were smarter than people gave them credit for. I'm glad you're not sad anymore, she said. I like it when you're happy. Me too, kiddo. Me too. As the sun climbed higher, Carter thought about everything that had burned and everything that had been built from the ashes. He thought about Alexandra learning to be honest, about Emily finding her courage, about Serena in prison learning consequences, about Preston and Marcus Webb facing justice. He thought about the foundation growing, about families being helped, about firefighters getting support, about kids learning fire safety, about executives learning ethics, about broken people learning they could heal. Most of all, he thought about Marcus, about his friend who died trying to do the right thing, about how that death had haunted Carter for 5 years until he finally understood that guilt was just love with nowhere to go. That forgiveness started with forgiving yourself. Come on, Carter said to Audrey. Let's make breakfast. They went inside together, father and daughter, hero and believer. Two people who'd been touched by fire and learned that sometimes burning is how you find your way to light. Because some fires destroy everything they touch. They leave nothing but ash and regret and memory that cuts like glass. But the rare ones, the honest ones, the brave ones that burn with truth instead of lies, those fires teach you something worth knowing. They teach you that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving anyway. They teach you that healing isn't forgetting the pain. It's learning to carry it differently. They teach you that redemption isn't erasing what you did. It's building something better from what remains. And most importantly, they teach you that people are more than their worst moments. That mistakes are chapters, not conclusions. That broken can become whole if you're brave enough to face the flames. Carter had learned all of that in the year since he ran into Alexandra's fire, and now standing in his kitchen making pancakes with his daughter, while the morning sun poured through the windows, he finally understood what it meant to be free. Not free from the past. That would always be there. Marcus would always be gone. The warehouse would always haunt quiet moments, but free from letting the past define everything that came after. Free to be more than his mistakes. Free to help others find their own freedom. That was the real gift Alexandra had given him. Not gratitude for saving her life, but permission to save his own. And that was the real purpose of the Boone Foundation. Not just to prevent fires or support firefighters or teach safety, but to show people that you could burn and survive, that you could fail and recover, that you could be broken and still be beautiful. Because in the end, that's what being human meant. Being imperfect, being scared, being capable of terrible mistakes and remarkable courage in equal measure. It meant being like Carter, who froze when his friend needed him but ran when a stranger did. It meant being like Alexandra, who destroyed evidence in panic but confessed the truth when it mattered. It meant being like Emily, who stayed silent from fear but spoke up when others needed her voice. It meant being like all the people the foundation would help. All the broken, scared, guilt-ridden people who thought their mistakes defined them, who thought they couldn't be forgiven, who thought they'd burned too hot to ever heal. The foundation would show them they were wrong. That redemption wasn't a destination. It was a direction. And as long as you kept moving toward truth, toward honesty, toward facing your fires instead of running from them, you were already on the path to being whole. Carter flipped pancakes and listened to Audrey sing along to music on her phone and felt something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Peace. Not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. He still had bad days. Still had moments when the guilt crept back. Still woke up some nights remembering Marcus's screams. But those moments didn't define him anymore. They were part of his story, not the whole thing. And that made all the difference. His phone rang. Alexandra. Morning? Morning. Listen, we got another major donation. $500,000 from an anonymous donor. Emily's tracking it down, but it looks legitimate. That's incredible. That's my... It is. We can expand the mental health program, hire 3 more therapists, maybe start that crisis hotline we talked about. She paused. I'm meeting with the board this afternoon to discuss expansion. Can you be there? Yeah, I'll be there. Good, because I can't do this without you, Carter. The foundation needs your heart as much as my money. It needs both of us, and everyone else who believes in it. True, see you at 3. See you at 3? He hung up. Audrey was watching him with knowing eyes. That was Ms. Alexandra, wasn't it? How'd you know? You smile different when you talk to her. I do not. You do. It's okay, Daddy. She's nice, and she's pretty, and she helps people. Audrey grinned. Jenny says you should ask her on a date. Jenny talks too much. Jenny's right, though. Carter laughed and ruffled her hair. Maybe someday, when things are less complicated. Things are always complicated. That's what being a grown-up is. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just noticed. They ate breakfast together. Then Carter drove Audrey to school, went to work, did inspections, lived his ordinary life. But underneath the ordinary was something extraordinary. A foundation built on ashes. A friendship forged in fire. A future that looked nothing like the past. And that evening, sitting in the board meeting, listening to expansion plans and budget projections and dreams for how many people they could help, Carter felt Marcus's presence. Not haunting him, celebrating with him. Because this was how you honor the dead. Not by carrying guilt forever, but by building something that mattered. Something that helped the living. Something that turned tragedy into purpose. The meeting ended. People filtered out. Alexandra stayed behind organizing papers. You okay? She asked. Yeah. Just thinking about how far we've come? From the hospital to here, it's been quite a journey. The best kind. The hard kind that teaches you things. Alexandra packed her briefcase. I have therapy in an hour. First session. I'm terrified. That's how you know it's worth doing. Is that what your therapist says? That's what experience says. She smiled. Thank you, Carter. For everything. For not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. You never gave up. You just needed a reminder that you were worth saving. We both did. They walked out together into the evening. The city spread before them, lights flickering on as darkness fell. Somewhere out there, families were gathering for dinner. Firefighters were responding to calls. Kids were doing homework. Life was happening in all its messy, beautiful complexity. And in the middle of it all, two broken people who'd learned that they could heal. Who'd learned that fires don't have to destroy. That sometimes they illuminate. That sometimes they forge something stronger than what existed before. Carter drove home thinking about everything that had burned and everything that had been built. About truth and lies and the price of both. About courage and fear and the thin line between them. Most of all, he thought about breath. Calm and steady and sideways. The kind that puts out flames without spreading them. The kind that heals without hurting. The kind that comes from accepting yourself exactly as you are, mistakes and all. That night, tucking Audrey into bed, she asked him one more question. Daddy, are you happy now? Carter thought about that. About happiness and peace and the difference between them. I'm content, which is better than happy because happy comes and goes, but content stays. What's the difference? Happy is when good things happen. Content is when you're okay even when they don't. He kissed her forehead with Mutamad. I spent 5 years being unhappy because I thought I didn't deserve to feel good. Now I'm content because I know I deserve to heal. I'm glad you healed. Me too, kiddo, me too. She fell asleep holding his hand. Carter sat there in the dim light of her room watching her breathe. Feeling grateful for every moment, every chance, every breath that came calm and steady and sideways. Because that's all life really was. A series of breaths, some panicked, some desperate, some full of joy. But the best ones, the ones that mattered most, were the ones that came with acceptance, with forgiveness, with the understanding that you were exactly who you needed to be right here, right now in this moment. Carter left Audrey's room and stood in his hallway looking at the pictures on the wall. Family photos, Audrey as a baby, Marcus before the warehouse, new pictures from the foundation launch. A whole life. Messy and complicated and beautiful. And for the first time in 5 years, when Carter looked at Marcus's picture, he didn't feel guilt. He felt gratitude for a friendship that had shaped him, for a death that had taught him, for a memory that had finally become a blessing instead of a curse. I did it, brother, Carter whispered to the photo. I built something good from all that burning, and I'm finally okay. In the silence of his house, with his daughter sleeping peacefully down the hall, Carter felt something shift. The last piece of weight he'd been carrying finally lifted. The last bit of fire finally went out. Not because he'd forgotten, but because he'd forgiven. And that made all the difference.